So we will get rolling. It is Monday, December 16th, 6:33 p.m. This is a regular meeting of the Montgomery Selectboard. We'll call the meeting to order. First order of business is to review and make any changes, as always. I have two additions to the agenda. One is under Public Works. It's just an update on the Longley Bridge Road saga with the plantings. And then we already have liquor and tobacco license on the agenda, but we'll just add the detail of Omakasi's first and third class liquor license. Any other additions or deletions to be made to the agenda? All right, not hearing any. We will move on to the approval of the minutes of the December 2nd meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes as written?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of December 2nd as written.
Thanks, Mark. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Suzanne. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor of approving the December 2nd minutes as written, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, motion carries and the minutes have been approved. Move on to Public Works. We've got a few updates here. First one around the municipal wastewater project. The next kind of large action there is we are submitting the application for the CDS funds. Those are the funds that came through Sanders. So when the bill passed, the funds are obligated and earmarked, but they just sit there until we go and actually apply for them. And that's the first step in getting them released to us. It's not like
What was that acronym?
CDS, Congressionally Directed Spending.
Okay.
So it's not like it's not like they can deny the application. It's just that they're not subject to release until we submit the application. And the guidance we got from them was to not submit the application until we get within a certain range of potential construction. So that's going to be going in. Other work is still.
How much was that one for?
That was 2.6 million, I believe, 2.3, 2.6. I don't have it in front of me, but it was one of the bigger ones through Sanders.
Yeah.
Other work that we're still doing is trying to wrap up all of the easements to get those out. The last thing we're trying to finish up still is just the valuation work that we talked about. So for each easement, we're looking at area impacted in terms of the property for the conveyance system. And similar to any utility, we need an easement, and we're going to be going out with an offer for the appraised value of the easement based on the appraisal we had done by the commercial appraiser. So the minute we have all of that material done, we can get the easements together and get them pushed out. The one thing that the board will need to decide probably sometime in January or early February is that we can also offer what they call our incentive payments. So when VTrans does a easement process, which is kind of what we're mirroring this off of, they will often go out to a landowner and say, hey, we've done an appraisal, your easement is worth X. We're also going to offer you a incentive payment of Y to work with us in a timely fashion and get these executed, et cetera, et cetera. Again, it's a process that folks like VTrans use, so we're kind of mirroring that. We don't have to do it, but it is an option, and so when we get back the full easement valuation, we can talk about what that puts us and then what an incentive payment could look like. Nothing that we need to do tonight, but just kind of flag that's going to be the next kind of big hurdle is getting the easements out to everybody. Other than that, they're still trying to finish up the final engineering design so that we can get out to bid. I think we've talked about this before, but just to reiterate, one of the things they are doing with the bid design is to bid the project in segments. One reason for that is that it's a bid strategy to get better bid pricing back. The other thing that it will allow us to do is, should the project come in over budget, if it's segmented, it would give the board, the town, the ability to look at it and say, essentially, okay, it costs X. If we scale the project back to some degree, there's a cost savings of Y, and we can move forward with that. So one example would be if we didn't go all the way up 58 or all the way out 118 down towards the rec center, we could figure that out at that point. But so just so folks are aware that the bid is being segmented so that one, it gets us better pricing, but it also allows us, if things do come in over bid, to say we can save the core of the project on budget if we trim this. Lastly, the only other thing they're working on is, we did have at least one landowner on the system, the proposed system, who does not get town water. And so the water in, water out flows is what we've been talking about to calculate usage. The state does have statutory methods by which we can calculate flow rates for people that are in that situation. So we are looking into the best way to do that. I think what we're probably going to do is try to figure out what the best 3 options are and then go to the landowner themselves and say, hey, which one of these looks good to you? But there are statutory process by which we can do that that's laid out, so we're not just making it up. So that's the update on the wastewater system and the progress there. The next item on the agenda is the streetscape project. So as we talked about last time, they were in town that next Friday doing individual visits. The team is incorporating all of that stuff into the plans. We have a call scheduled with V-Trans for Wednesday morning to figure out next steps there. The big thing is still going to be clearing NEPA so that we can then go after the bike and ped grant, which would be the main funding vehicle for the rest of the project. That's it for the streetscape update. That brings us on to general updates. So the first item on here is related to the grader repair quote. So at the last meeting, we had approved a $50,000 expenditure for the transportation and repair of the grader.
I think it was 55.
I think the minutes reflected 50.
Oh, 50, okay.
We did get a quote back a day or two after the meeting that came in at
1,300.
61,303.
Yeah.
Wait, can you just hang on a second so I can get these?
Yeah, sorry, if I'm moving too fast.
Good job. She's like,
Charlie,
Hold on one second, so yeah, if I'm moving too fast, just let me know.
Okay, so
did Chris give you a name and number, or did he give it to,
We've had 2 other people. St. Algis gave us 2 people
okay.
Yeah.
to look into.
Chris knows another one.
well, so it came
This
in at
is-
63.
The quote came in at $61,303.
And the name of the company is Bristol Diesel Works LLC out of New Haven. Another one.
And that was the best quote that
Yeah.
Scott was able to get back.
Yeah.
So the action before the board tonight would be to modify the approval that was made last time to increase the limit.
This includes the transport.
And that includes the transport at that cost.
Yeah.
So is there a motion to approve the revised quote for the grader repair or transportation?
What was the? Did we ever come to a verdict on where those funds were being pulled out of?
Yeah, they're coming out of the
Machinery.
machinery replacement fund.
And we have enough in that.
Yep.
fund?
We do. So the motion would be to approve or to amend the past approval to increase the limit on the grader repairs from the machinery replacement fund to, I would say, 61,500.
Yeah.
Make it a round number.
So I'll make that motion.
Great. So we have
Bristol
a
Diesel Works LLC. The quote is 61,500
still is the limiting.
to repair the grader.
Okay. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll say-
Coming out of the machine replacement fund.
Yep.
Alright.
So we have a second from Suzanne. Is there any further discussion? Not hearing any, we can vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, motion carries. You've approved the revised quote.
Does that include the transportation?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Next up was just an update on the status of the FY24, 25 submissions for Better Back Roads, because that was flagged last time as having stuff that was needed. So I did clarify with Aaron, everything has been submitted.
Oh, okay.
So we're good to go for the December 31st deadline.
That's for Black Falls.
Yeah, so that will close out the reimbursements for Black Falls.
Okay. Because that's due at the end of the month. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so I did clarify with Aaron today again, and we are all set with the submissions there.
Okay.
The added item here regarding Longley Bridge Road. So as I mentioned last time we talked about this, the Army Corps basically said in order to close things out on their end, they need to come back and double check the plantings this spring, at which point they would let us know if they meet the mark and they would sign off on the project and we can close it. V-Trans got back to us and said that they would process the final invoice and project closure if the town decides to close the project now before the inspection from the ACE or Army Corps. On some VTrans state-managed projects with long monitoring durations, 5 years or so, VTrans has chosen to close the project and continue the monitoring compliance with its own funding. On this project, the grant would be closed and the town would be responsible for the permit compliance on our own. Otherwise, we could leave the project open and wait for another growing season and do what's described in the permit. And they asked us to let them know what we decide. So essentially what VTrans is saying to us, if we want to close this project out, close the grant and basically pay the contractors and wash our hands of this, we can do that. However, if the Army Corps comes back next spring or early summer and says that the mortality rate of your plantings is exceeding the standard of whatever, we would be on the hook to go do additional plantings. I mean, as much as I want to just get this off of our plate and be done with it,
I think we should wait.
if it's just a case of waiting and working with it, I mean,
Yeah.
it does reduce the liability.
Yeah,
How much are we on the hook right now for paying for outstanding?
The outstanding monies is negligible almost. We're still under the grant limits anyway. I don't have it pulled up, but we have not met the limiting amount of the grant.
Okay.
And the final closeout would basically be, my understanding is like a couple $100 to the project engineer, just to basically sign off on their end.
Yeah, well, in that case,
The liability would be that if they came out and they said, hey, your plantings all died, we could not go back to the contractor and say, hey, per the contract, you need to go fix this.
yeah,
So if there's no objection, or if anybody wants to make a motion otherwise, they can, but it sounds like the consensus is that we just move forward as is and just stretch it out.
yeah.
Okay. I will let Dean know that we're gonna do that, and we'll
What's
just,
another growing season for that project?
yeah, yeah. Okay,
Make it 6 or 7 years.
only other update that I had come across the desk today was just the Burlington Communications mounted the antennas up on Reagan Road today. And so that system is now live and operational. You said that,
Yeah, I heard Doug on the radio, and it sounded a lot clearer.
Yep.
And he was talking to St. Albans, and they could hear him.
okay, so the comms equipment on Reagan Road is now active and live. So that project, which has been another one that's been taking a while, is finally online and done. Any other general updates or anything related to Public Works?
No.
All right, if not, let's jump to visitors and we'll do the room first. Teresa, you were here first. Anything for visitors?
I got two things.
Yep.
Actually. I wanna know about big, how it stages, and how, then you can figure out how much they all cost on the staging.
So I don't know specifically exactly how they're segmenting it, but in general terms, what they're looking at is the core of the project, which is
Yeah.
essentially Main Street in that area. And then you've got from like the cemetery out through the rec center and those connections down there. And then as you go up 58, there's segments there, like you get up towards Howard Road, and you've got the Howard Road extension, and you have the extension up by you.
Yep.
You've got the area south of Main Street. So I don't know exactly the segmenting that they're doing per the bid, but the strategy is essentially to separate it in segments so that one, you can get this isn't my bailiwick, so I don't quite know, but apparently when you do that, you can get the bids to come in better. It's one of the strategies they use, and it would give the town the ability, should the project come in over budget, to say, okay, if we trimmed here and there, we could save the core of the project, stay on budget, etc.
Okay. Second question. Is there anybody on the select board that has a conflict of interest with this project, with this building that's gonna be built? Nobody's come out and said anything about this.
Which building, sorry?
The 30-unit condo, or whatever is gonna be built down there.
That's not part of this project. the
No,
wastewater
it's part of the wastewater though, cause they can't do it without the wastewater.
I mean, it's not part of this project. It's development that could occur in that fashion if the project went forward, but similarly, Sarita could put a bathroom in the salt cave. That's also something that could come from the project. Donnie could put seating in for pizza.
But
I mean,
he's
like-
not on the select board.
No, I'm just saying that, like, just to be clear, like, those could happen with the project, but they're not part of the project.
So that's how you're getting away with
There's
that.
conflict of interest.
But is there a specific conflict that you're curious about?
Yeah,
Okay, well, just come out and say it then.
well, I don't like, I'm not a mean bitch. I'm
Well,
not,
no,
really not.
No, I'm just saying, cause like,
Leanne's son is a partner of Walter Knight,
okay,
and she's been voting yes for everything with this wastewater, and it's gonna benefit her son. And that's why I think it's, and a lot of people I've talked to says it's a conflict of interest also. So I just thought I'd come out with a question instead of blowing it and not accusing of anybody. I
Yeah.
asked the question, so I didn't accuse nobody. So you brought it up, I told you how I felt, and I know about 50% of these people think the same way.
yeah,
So, but that's how you're getting away with it, because the wastewater is completely different from them, but not really.
well, so I guess I would say is, I don't think anyone's, quote, getting away with anything. I mean, the
I'm
board
saying-
has a conflict of interest policy that we, have all signed, that's on file. You know, we haven't gone back to it in a while, cause nothing's been raised. I can certainly go back and look at it to make sure that, you know, we're not, you know, crossing any lines there.
I just wanna be truthful and find out, because she's voting yes on this wastewater, and I'm not ignorant, I know pretty much if she's voting yes on everything, that'll benefit her son. You gotta look at it my way, you can't, but you look in your form, look at your policies, tell me next time, okay?
I'm happy to look at it and,
Okay.
you know, and if
But
you'd
I
like,
know
I
it's
can
not-
also discuss it with the board member too. I mean, that, you know, I understand the perspective you're coming from. I think per the policy and the way that we understand conflict of interest and material benefit, there is not one, but I understand how you're saying that there could be a perception of one,
Yes, and that's it, most of the town is that way.
so.
I had, sorry, just a question related to that. As the board voted pretty much unanimously on the
Yeah.
wastewater project, so Leanne's vote wouldn't make a difference necessarily?
To my recollection, there have been no votes where there would have been a tie or a vote
So
that
she
went
hasn't
the
been a
other way.
tiebreaker or any?
No.
I can see the concern. I remember when we did the water project, Artie recused himself
Oh, yeah.
from any discussions. And not because he would gain anything financially from it, but because his father owned
Yeah.
the old system.
Yeah.
That's the only other time I can remember a board member recusing in a big project like this. Might be worth asking.
Yeah, no, like I said, I'm happy to pull the policy out, take a look at it, and then discuss it with the board member to make sure that we're all above board.
Because if you Google her, because I had to make sure, so I Googled her to see if she was really Abe's mother, you know, because I didn't
Well,
want,
she hasn't been hiding that. She's said it
Yeah.
twice in
Yeah.
meetings,
I know.
so.
but right there on her Google saying she's been voting for this wastewater. I didn't ask it, I just asked for her name and it brought it right up on how many times she's voted for the wastewater system. So that's where my concern was.
There was a Google, like,
There's
Entry-
a, you Google her name,
but like, there's actually an entry related just to the wastewater votes.
it brings up her name, you punch on her name and that's what it says. For real, unless I'm dumb and blonde and,
No, I mean, I just,
It's
I
public
mean-
record.
no, I know, it seems like that's something that would be kind of buried through enough layers that you could
yeah,
get
but
to it, but there wouldn't be
shoved
like
right up on my
yeah.
Google,
Right out
cause
Alright.
that's, I had to make sure before I opened my mouth.
Yep,
I
understood,
wanted to make sure.
yep,
And
gotcha,
then I've talked to a number of people and they're all concerned, so I thought of different ways to do this. I thought I was gonna take you and her in there and talk about it, because I didn't wanna be, you know, pointing at her or embarrassing her or anything. I would not do that to any of you.
yep, no, understood, yeah, and like I said, if there's a perception of something, we'll look into it, because we wanna make sure everything is above board, so, thanks for bringing it to our attention, and we'll make sure everything's good.
So then I'm done.
Yep, okay,
I had to say what I said.
great, thank you. I think, Roberta, you were in here next, so,
I think so, maybe.
Yeah.
I just want a couple clarifying questions. So the original septic design was 11.7 million or whatever it was. And then it went up to 12 something, and then we cut out the village, and it's 12 something without the village. So what you're thinking is it might even come higher, so we would have to cut out more for, again, another increase?
So I mean, essentially, yeah, it would be a case of cost per scale, I guess. So like if it came in over budget by a certain amount and we figured out that like, well, to connect those 4 houses, your cost of connection is 10, 15, 25% higher than in the village core or the center core, then you could segment that out and still retain the heart of the project. It's not something like, it's one of those basically like backstops as an option.
So do we have a budget? Like, what is our budget to pay for this?
Yeah,
Because
we currently do. I'd have to pull up if you give me a second, I can pull up where we're at right now. But again, all of the numbers we've talked about are all just based on planning and material estimates and everything else. We really won't know until we get back the bids what it will cost. And that's the point at which we look at it and we
that's
say,
the
Yeah.
cost of everybody that's on it.
does this work? Is it
Yeah.
affordable? And that's when we talk and we figure out how to move forward and the steps.
And again, the only people that are gonna be paying out of pocket are the people that are using them. The rest of
Just like the
it's
water.
coming out of,
We've got
Tax
that
money
1% tax.
Yeah, there's a local option tax. Yeah, so the current.
so I'm not paying for the septic.
No, other than the fact that if you go to the snowshoe and get a beer,
Right,
you know,
yeah.
Or
tens-
jelly and gas,
Yeah.
or
But,
birdies,
you know-
or any any
Yeah.
packages you get, it charges.
Is it on
yeah.
gas packages?
I don't know if it's on. I don't know if they apply sales tax to gas. Do they? I don't know.
Well, it's already in there.
Anything that is sales tax applicable would be the local option tax. So right now, the center budget as now is 12.9 million.
Okay, can I ask a question on this? So the money spent so far,
Mhm.
is all of what we've spent so far covered in grant money,
So
essentially?
what we've spent so far is covered through the planning grants that we've received. It's a little complicated because there's the planning grants, then there's the subsidies that we're getting through the loan. There's the conversion from the pollution control grant that came in.
So my question is, at this point, if you get to a point
Yeah,
and you have to put the brakes on,
yeah,
our outlay is gonna be minimal because most of it's
Yeah.
covered in
Oh, yeah.
grants.
yes.
That's always gonna be my question with these
Yeah.
Yes, and
projects.
that's been kind of what we try to do from the get-go is
Yeah.
cover your ass.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
minimal
essentially,
risk.
nobody's paying anything, and if you got to the point where the bids come in and it's like, man, this thing's 15 million with just the center,
Yeah.
do you bring it back to the town for us to be able to say, okay, full stop? Because we haven't laid out any money, it's one thing if you've spent $2 million on all the planning and nonsense, which usually, the water project was the same way,
Yeah.
we didn't spend any money until we spent, until
Spent money,
everything was approved.
yeah.
So as long as, that's my concern, is that there is that point where if it's too much money,
Yeah,
Yeah.
You're gonna come
He already
back.
said
Well,
that,
What'd you say
he
was
said if
budgeted
it's
for?
Well,
way
there's a
up.
threshold of how much users can pay.
Right,
so
right.
yeah.
If you go over that threshold.
I just wanted to make sure it's running along the same.
Yeah, it's the
most
same
of these
same principle,
projects.
and that's kind of like why
That
with
was the same with
that
the water
with that
project.
like with that loan amendment we did the other day to drop that back to 200,000 was the same idea that we were
Right.
just trying to maximize the subsidy against the loan to
Sure.
get rolled into the RD.
Yeah.
So
If this doesn't go through, is there a thought process for that 1% local option tax, which is an awesome way to raise money, by the way?
yeah, we'd have to go back to the town and say,
Maybe
Yeah.
hey,
change
what do
the
you want to do
parameters.
with this?
Right.
And the one nice thing is that the legislature did change it so that we can do that unilaterally through. We don't have to go back to the whole charter process.
Cool.
And there is a big push at the state, well, not at the state level. State doesn't probably want this, but there is a big push through the Vermont League of Cities and Towns working with municipalities that have local option taxes to go to the legislature this year and actually try to get them to rework the formula. Because right now, like half the money we raise, the state keeps.
Oh.
What?
Yeah.
The state
No.
has to get their part.
Okay.
Does that mean
like
that the total number
Who
is
can we
gonna
call
It's
to
already
fix this?
passed.
Does Phil Scott support that probably?
I don't know what Scott thinks about
Alright,
it.
I'll jump on that boat.
Either way, and I mean, 50% is a round number. I don't think it's exactly 50, but there's
Whatever, they
like,
shouldn't have any. For
well,
what? Just that's their maintenance fee? Their fee to monitor it?
basically, yeah.
Barry Kate, get
So
down
when we
here.
look at the account, the funds that we have in that account, that's after the 50% has been removed.
Yeah, and just
That's a
so,
lot of money,
and-
raised then.
yeah,
That's like,
and just so everyone knows, I did ask Aaron this again today, just because it's gonna come up right now in the local option tax.
Now, that's before they took the tax out from the
They
state.
already taxed it.
Give me one
if the
second.
state's taking a portion of the 1%, I'd like to call them and ask what it's for.
So
Yeah.
to date, the
Where
local
it's
option
going.
tax
I can see that
has,
there's some,
to date, the local option tax has raised $172,374. And we have pulled some funds out of that related to the wastewater project, which is it's used for to match some of the state stuff.
got it.
So there were some things where like the ARPA funding the state gave us wouldn't close the whole deal, so we had to come up with the additional 20%.
Yeah.
So there has been some funds drawn for the purpose of the wastewater project, but right now, 172,000.
Wow.
And the idea was that, you know, by passing it, I didn't think it would be years before construction, but long enough that we can build up a reserve in there so that that can then roll into the
Operating, or?
yeah, what do they call it? The
It's over.
operations management plan or
Oh,
something.
yeah,
Basically, the whole like,
Oh,
so
yeah,
what happens
yeah.
in 20 years when that pipe needs to get fixed? So the hope
Yeah.
is to build up a reserve there that we can grow.
So how long have we been, have the 1%? Has it
2
been
years.
2 years, 2 years?
Yeah.
It's a lot of money in 2 years.
Rather than,
So
but
that could
if
have
the
been a
state,
lot more money.
Yeah, it could have been a lot.
so, and we could probably, I could probably just call the State Department of Taxes and ask them where the rest of our money is. I mean, they're gonna say it's a fee, it's an administrative fee, but as Barry Kate is, a fee can only cover the cost of what it costs to administer whatever, you
Yeah.
know, they can't, I'm curious what it's called when they take
30%.
So
The
they
state-
take 30%.
The state takes 30% of the 1% local option tax
So
revenue.
basically, they're disingenuous because the taxpayers of this town all voted for a local option tax thinking we're gonna get 1%. So when I go to Sylvester's, 30% of my whatever, my 1% is going to the state.
That's how it's calculated now.
yeah.
Boy, that's a ripoff.
There.
Okay, I have something new to chew on
Great.
Jersey for a month.
Go get them.
I'll just be on the phone for a whole month. They're gonna be
All right,
so
a
annoyed.
question on this 1%.
What?
It's been 2 years. You guys voted for that 2 years ago. Everybody supposedly voted yes for it.
Mhm.
And then you just dropped the village. Why was there not a re-vote with the people to say it's only gonna be Montgomery Center? Because basically, this is just stuff I hear because I talk to people.
I know you do.
Yeah, you know I do. I've been all around lately there,
I
Charlie.
talked to people.
Yeah.
But they're mad, people in village are mad because they're 1%. I mean, the tourists, who,
Yeah.
they come here anyway, but people in the village, because they're not getting anything out of it, they're basically thinking they're paying for our wastewater.
Well, I don't get anything out of it. I live on Creamery
Yeah,
Bridge,
I-
but
I
I
mean,
don't mind.
But I
Yeah.
know how you.
I mean,
think
it's
I
the
know how you-
community, it's a community tax. It's
Yeah.
for the benefit of the.
I mean, I understand your perspective. I think we've talked about this
Yeah.
a number of times, so I understand your perspective. I don't have an answer for you that you're gonna like, I don't think, so.
Well, it's the same
No,
as
it's
what
just-
they're doing with the final bid, though. You have to, when the price came in with the village included, that piece was the logical piece to go, because things weren't working out with land acquisition.
Yeah,
you
that
weren't-
was just because
So
of
if you added the
physically
village
doing
to
it.
this project, you'd be at 20 million, and it,
Yeah,
they were, so one thing goes, I mean, the water project was very similar. It's like, these things are very long.
Yeah.
Are you getting any grief for the streetscape at all from anybody?
I don't think so. I think, and again, we're trying to go door to door with everybody and talk about all the details.
I
to
just
it.
We get grief that we're not doing more for streetscape.
Yeah, I think that's probably what we're getting. So I want to keep going on the agenda. So, I'm sorry, back to Roberta.
Yeah, Just wanna know what's
Sorry.
going on with the roads, what are they doing on the roads, just curious.
Well, I mean, they're plowing and sanding and then
Well,
they're
have
gonna
they been plowing for?
be cutting brush and then they'll be cutting brush and stuff as soon as they
Okay,
can.
I was wondering
You know.
about the cutting brushes.
They did get the holiday decorations up though.
Saw that.
Yeah,
Ah, humbug.
yeah. I mean, it snowed almost every day for the last couple weeks, so.
Supposed
If
to
you
rain
come out in the
this
morning, the road's plowed, right? So, that's what they're doing.
Hasn't been snowing though.
Yes, it has been.
week. It's been raining like crazy too.
Well, rain too, so that makes ice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
ice.
so-
Maybe ice tomorrow. Can you make sure?
And maintaining the equipment. Yeah.
Let him take the sander home.
Tosca, anything for visitors other than the lease?
No, I'm here
We'll
to
jump
sign
to
that
that
lease.
next. Okay. Then I want to go to the Zoom. Hey Larry, anything for visitors? You just want to come off mute.
I guess not.
There we go.
Yep. We can hear you.
My first time. You know, Teresa's right about the select board is gonna have to be a little more careful about, conflict of interest or the appearance of it. I can think about, several occasions where votes have been made or somebody nominating their boss for something. I think you need to really look at that. The other thing is, last meeting, at the end of the meeting, there were comments made about a ethics representative within the town, employees. What was your end result on that?
So we didn't make any appointment because I still need to kind of chase down exactly like what this person does. So if we appoint somebody, they know what they're getting into. The comments last time was more just to flag that that's something that we're going to have to do per legislation that passed. But there's been no action to appoint anybody. Like I said, I need to do more digging into like if we ask someone to serve in that position, what is it they're going to actually be doing?
You may want to double check whether it should be a full-time type employee rather than just somebody that gets a W-2.
Yep, I mean it has to be an employee, but yeah, we can check into, confirming how that's classified and what the best option is.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Larry.
Have a good night.
You too.
And what is that for?
The state passed legislation this past session, which was all around municipal ethics, and one part of it was that each town had to appoint I don't remember the name of an ethics liaison or something like that.
For real?
Yeah,
And it has to be from the employee.
it has to be an employee of the municipality.
Like
But
already.
how does that work?
Let's make a new position.
Honestly, like this whole process with this, like when this was going through, I think everybody that actually
He's the
worked in
1%.
municipal government basically said, you want to make it even more of a pain in the
Wouldn't the
ass to do
ethics
this?
person be overseeing the people that are working?
Yeah.
So it could be
But if they're
somebody
working
out
for
of
the
town?
Yeah.
No, it has to
then
be
it
an
doesn't make
employee.
sense.
It has to be somebody
It
that's
doesn't make sense that an
Well-
employee of a town is appointed ethics.
I don't know. A lot of
It's
things
kind of a
make
conflict.
sense.
That's what I'm,
could create a conflict.
Well, tell her you'll look into it more.
But I guess
See
it
what
could
it's
be an
more.
employee
Yeah.
that lives out of town, because what Scott.
Again, I need to like actually figure out exactly what the nuts and bolts are. That's one of
Take
those
your
things
time,
where I
Pat.
kind of saw it come through and I was like, oh, that's yeah. We'll
Who's
wait.
our fence viewer right now? Who's the wearer called?
One of them is Emily. I think she's.
Yeah, I think Emily's the wearer of coal. Okay, well that takes us through visitors, so we're going to go to the town hall committee, and so this was in relation to 2 vacancies that are on the committee.
Yep.
The town hall committee has put forward 2 names to fill these vacancies. These are both seats that will expire in 2025. The current composition of the board is Brad Elliott, chair, term to expire in 2026. Tosca, expire in 2026. Tara, 2026. Shane, 2026. Then we have 2 vacant seats in 2025, and then Abe for 2025 as well. So these are 2 2025 seats. The committee has put forward the names of Claudia Stauber, and Nicole Woodworth.
Woodward.
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 Okay, sorry, Woodward.
Oh, yeah, didn't see that, sorry.
That's fine.
Is it Woodward?
I thought it was.
You know what? I mean, let's double check that.
Woodward. Woodward?
I go back and forth, I have to check. Suzanne's right. I think it is Woodward, but I think I wanna call her Woodward. I don't know why. Joanne Woodward, I think.
Is Woodworth.
It's
Woodworth? Okay.
Yeah, no correction.
So again, the committee has put forward the names of Claudia and Nicole for the 2 positions. So at this point, we will open up nominations for the 2 vacant seats on the Town Hall Committee, seats expiring in 2025. Are there any nominations?
So I'll nominate Claudia and Nicole. Claudia Six Stauber and Nicole Woodward.
Great, so we have nomination for Claudia and Nicole. Are there any other nominations? Hearing no other nominations, we'll close nominations. All those in favor of appointing Claudia Stauber and Nicole Woodworth to the Town Hall Committee vacancies expiring in 2025, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, so we've made the appointment. They are now formally on the committee. I assume there's been no, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but no movement on the building use policy yet?
Not on the policy, however, we have extended an invitation for the Junior Iron Chef Club to meet on Wednesdays. This was approved by our committee in the kitchen because and here's, guess what else I'll do in January? Because the school doesn't belong to us anymore, the kids aren't allowed to use the school kitchen to have the Junior Iron Chef Club meet.
Is that right?
Really?
Absolutely, and it's ridiculous. It's to the point of ridiculousness, because Dawn Reed will not allow it. So our children, they go to the Montgomery Elementary School
Have
and
no
want to
place
do
to-
the Junior Iron Chef competition, of which I was asked to be the leader there, and because I've judged it and been involved in it for a few years. So I showed up at the club expecting to be able to use the kitchen, and they sent me to Melissa's art room, which has, it's a fabulous art room, and it has one sink, which is an art school sink, which is paint filled, and
Yeah.
which is fine. It's an art room, and it has a gas stove that doesn't really work, and has her, it has her stuff on it. It's a complete this is not a place to prep food. It's just not. It's glitter land. It's
Yeah.
paint.
Is that a formal policy? Like
Yeah, well,
did-
apparently, they wouldn't let us use it for the art auction last year, because Joey reached out to them.
Huh.
And they blamed it on COVID the year before.
They
For
don't
the
let-
art
They don't
auction.
let building board features operate there anymore either.
They won't allow us to use our own school for certain events. So at any rate,
Huh.
I brought it to the Grange Committee, and we think it's the perfect test run to use the kitchen downstairs.
Yeah.
It's 5 kids. They go off-site quite a bit for their after-school. Renee Davidson runs it. So she's got clearance, and Joey Bottendorf is taking over for me because I'm leaving town, but, her and Tiffany both have their background checks from the school.
Great.
So the kids can go there. So that's gonna be Wednesdays, and it's not a conflict with anything else. There's upstairs classes going on.
Awesome.
So they'll be dropped off there Wednesdays by Roger and picked up by their parents, and that goes from, this Wednesday will be the first Wednesday, and it'll go through till the competition in February.
Great. Well, thanks for organizing that.
Yeah, and it's just, we
Yeah.
figured, let's test run it, and it's a great use, that's a great use of that kitchen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are the kinds of things, support the kids, they're
Yeah.
gonna use it for free, there's no fee, of course.
Awesome.
But yeah, so that's what's happening, and then they can also double up and get some community service, because they'll be able to process the veg that we have from the food pantry, so they'll have material to work with.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So what
So,
about looking into why we can't use the school kitchen?
I can,
Yeah, that might be a
Because of the
deeper.
schools merged, I thought that was the reason.
That's
Right.
apparently the reason, is that it's not our decision to make anymore, because the
Because it's
school
three
is not.
schools, right?
This comes into play as well, and I'll bring it up because I bring it up every time it comes up, that is our emergency shelter.
Yeah, so that was my question, is can we still have it be our emergency shelter?
Well, that is
Yeah.
a question, when after the flood, the money we got
Yeah,
to
I
put
guess
in
it-
those generators was not because, it wasn't for the school, it was because it was the emergency shelter.
Yeah.
So we got major federal funding, to beef that location up. There's supposedly cots
Yeah.
up there and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's because it's our federal emergency shelter.
Okay, I'll look into that.
Yeah.
And
I'll
we
look into
shouldn't
that.
have to call somebody and get permission. If we're talking about
Yeah.
flood resiliency, people should be able to go there, get in, and not have somebody say, Sally, bar the door, cause you gotta go talk to.
You guys can come up to my house.
But yeah, that's what happened when we sold the school for $1, technically.
Yeah.
Morgan might be able to answer the
Yeah,
question.
that was who I was gonna go to, was
Yeah.
to ask more notes on that. Okay, well, thanks for bringing that up, we'll chase that
Yeah.
down.
Um,
And thanks for organizing the Iron Chef.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
That sounds very cool. One question for the committee, did we ever follow up on having the town hall committee also review and sign a conflict of interest policy?
I think you guys,
Definitely went over it in our meeting after we had our resignations, and if we get, it's just the town policy, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
did you,
But
Well,
did you
we-
sign it?
No, because I didn't
Okay.
realize that we were asked to sign it, but we definitely went over it.
yeah, I'll email you a copy.
Yeah, just email me a copy, I'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting. I don't think, and with the new board members, it's actually probably a better time
Great,
to have everybody there. I'll sign it before I go.
so that can bring us right to the Full Heart Kitchen lease. Again, the formatting on this copy is a little weird, I don't know what happened.
This was good.
Well, I mean, the page numbers all say page 8.
Eight,
I don't know why.
well, I mean, that doesn't change the actual,
Yeah, I will get a clean
it's a
printed.
funny looking 8 too.
Yeah, I will get a clean copy with the formatting right for signatures. If
I
the-
can
if the board
come
wants-
in and,
I can find it tomorrow or something. I can
well,
just-
just leave it at the clerk's, I'm gonna be at, well, you can come down to the food
Yeah,
pantry,
I'll
I'll
just-
be down there.
I'll just come find you with a
This
copy.
has all the
Yeah.
edits, so.
Yep. This
Everybody was
includes-
fine with it, minus that one sentence.
Yep, that one sentence got struck, and then all the grammatical stuff that Emily pointed out, it's been tweaked too.
I think the insurance policy, I paid for it Friday, so she should be getting a final copy tomorrow, today. I haven't checked my email.
So then you will be.
And then tomorrow, when you come down, I'll just hand you a check.
Okay,
And you
perfect.
can take the rent. How's that sound?
Sounds like a plan. So the
We're here
motion
from 2
would
to
be,
5.
the motion would be for the board to approve the Full Heart Kitchen lease as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Great, thanks, Mark. Is there a second?
Oh,
We have a second from Suzanne. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand.
yeah. Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, motion carries and we've approved the lease, so I'll get a clean copy and look at that signed and then
Cool,
record it. That's
thank
good.
you.
Yeah, thank you.
That's
So will
awesome.
you be legit then, once you get the lease?
We've been legit as far as the state and the feds are concerned, but yeah,
Um,
everything will be.
So next up on the agenda is just the ARPA funds status follow-up. So, after the last meeting, when we talked about the ARPA funds and what we had done with them, a notice came in from VLCT, the language of which put a flag up in my head as to like, did we do all that the right way? I talked about it with Aaron, and we've reviewed it, and we reviewed all the guidance that we've got back when we made that general allocation. Aaron and I are pretty confident that we're fine, but we are still trying to get final clarification from Katie Buckley, who's kind of the
Yeah.
main go-to ARPA person at VLCT. I checked in with Aaron today, we still haven't gotten word back from Katie. So as soon as I get word back, I'll email everybody and let you know
Yeah.
one way or the other. Again, I think we're fine, but if there's any,
Is this just with like filing status?
it's just how they're defining obligation of funding. And
Okay.
our impression was that by doing that general allocation that we did, we cleared it all 2 years ago.
Obligations.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the guidance we got, like, it read in a way where it could be interpreted like that doesn't count. It's just, it's a question of like, how are you defining what we did in the terms of this? That's
Okay.
all we need to know.
Yeah.
So I will let everybody know as soon as I hear back. I was hoping to have that answer tonight, but I wasn't able to get it. So I'll let folks know as soon as that's ready, or as soon as we know what's going on there, and whether or not we need to take any steps to secure that. But, you know, Charlton Heston, cold dead hands, they can come and get it. The last time I had under old business, did anybody make it to the last?
Yeah, I did.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay, because
So-
I've had a scheduling conflict the past 2 of those, so I
So
couldn't
what
make them.
they had like 5 locations they were looking at. and one of them's the town land.
Okay,
So they're looking at taking out like 4.5 acres of that property and lowering it down so it has the, for
That's the land down by
the town property.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah,
Which
Yeah.
town property?
Well, the one, yeah,
Where
this
the
is the
cornfield
little
was.
one where the,
Oh, the lower
The June
cornfield.
property,
Cornfield.
yeah.
No, and
Yeah.
they do realize that's still in the radius of the watershed.
The area that they
Oh,
were,
yeah.
the area that they
wait,
were.
you're talking about where the orchard is?
Yeah,
and all
the
that?
orchard,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
yeah, oh no, they didn't realize all that, yeah.
Yeah.
Circle.
So
Yeah.
they're going to, sorry, just repeat what you said, cause I missed.
So that was one location they looked at trying to get some funding for to do that, because it is owned by the town, so, that, and, that would help protect the roads and,
Yep.
and, so they're looking at lowering it down like another 5 feet or something. It's all gonna be engineered, so it's looking like $1 million project. But
Okay,
And that's to
They're
put
looking
in
for
like a
grants.
retaining water retention pond or something.
essentially it
No,
gives
no.
more, it gives more
Just,
flood
uh,
relief.
yeah.
So the river, when the river comes
So when it
up,
comes
it has
up,
a
it
place
won't
to
go towards the
go
road.
as opposed to
Yeah.
coming into the village.
It'll go that way.
You said that was 2 acres?
4.5 acres.
Oh,
Okay.
4.5.
I think they were looking
There's
at.
that much there?
Well,
Yeah,
there's
that
there's
lower
the whole
piece?
property is
That
like
whole
Oh,
property,
eight or nine.
there's
Yeah,
14
that's
acres
true.
down
Yeah.
below there, just in that field.
Well, we
Yeah.
used to lease to Hershey,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
stretch.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That-
Excuse me? Excuse
Yeah.
me,
Yes.
what property is this you're talking about?
it's where the corn piece was, the town land below the water plant, across
Gotcha.
Dwayne Jewett's.
Thank you.
Where the river's almost plugged on that corner already,
yeah.
this would lower that down so the water would go that way instead of taking out the railroad bridge.
It's always been plugged there.
Yeah, yeah. So
Thank
that-
you.
That was one location. Then the other location is the West Hill Bridge. We're looking into trying to get that cleaned out, and Lauren and I are gonna go to the state, and because they've done some research on it now, how much
Great.
needs to be cleaned out and everything, so
Awesome,
we're gonna try and push them to get that cleaned out.
excellent.
And then the other location was, up in the center, actually where we just bought the land for the wastewater pump station.
Mhm.
They're looking at doing something there, lowering the property, so the water would come, instead of going in Main Street, would lower that side and then lower the other side of the river.
Wait,
Um,
the
The property right by the wheel in, where the,
Huh,
yeah,
I mean,
so they were looking at, and I told them
oh,
we were
this
looking
property
at.
down here.
yeah, we have to make sure that works with the pump station
Well,
stuff.
yeah, that's what I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
but,
yeah,
okay,
because they showed the location, I'm like, well, the town just bought that location.
yeah,
That site.
okay,
So that was another site, and then they were talking about, there's some other long-range things of like redoing the bridge in the center and you know,
We had talked
moving the
about-
bridge and,
John Little had come out and talked about cutting the bank by the Grange Hall and cutting it so that there's a berm, like a staircase you walk down and then there's another level.
oh, okay, yeah.
I forget what he called it, but it seemed
Yeah.
like a good idea.
Yeah.
Leaving the trees.
But downstream, they were looking at, on the opposite side of the river, avoid, you know,
Yeah.
lowering some of that down so the water would go that way instead of coming into
Okay.
the center.
Two
So they're all, there's like 4 or 5 places, and then the final report should be done, you know, right off.
excellent.
I think Lauren wanted to come to one of the meetings.
Yeah, I was gonna reach out to her and invite her, and so this
Yeah.
does dovetail into the first item
So-
under new business,
You
which
can
is
go
the,
online and see all the
Yep.
minutes and the meetings.
and so
Yeah.
the first item under new business is just the hazard mitigation plan, and so,
This should combine all of it.
yeah, so we have started, tonight we had the first kickoff meeting for the local hazard mitigation planning process. And so a part of that process is going to be looking into mitigation strategies and funding to do mitigation work, the mitigation grant opportunity funds. And so through that process, we can work with Lauren to bake in as much of that as we can
Yeah.
to try to get it funded. So just so folks know, that process is going on. It's gonna take about 8 months probably to finalize it, but we have started it. We did get clarification tonight that because we have started it, that does check the box that we are doing it, as that relates to ERAF funding, which is the reimbursement rate or the match rate if we have a disaster. If we have all the boxes checked, local hazard mitigation plan, the road standards, I'm forgetting the other couple, but if we have them all in place, our local match for any disasters is 7.5%. If we don't have them in place, it's 25%.
Yeah.
So this is something that stands to save us quite a bit of money. Worked out in our favor for that Halloween storm back in 2018, was it?
Yeah.
Because of all of our ducks were in a row, we were able to get that 7.5% local match rate. So that's happening. We're moving forward with it. There's no decisions or anything else tonight regarding it, but just an update that that's moving forward. Item B under new business, town meeting 2025. So just an update here. The budget tasking letters are going out tomorrow to all committees and boards and departments to get their budgets together and their material for the town report. So boards and committees and departments should look out for that. The budget committee will start meeting in January. We do have a vacancy on the budget committee. Kat did resign, and so the budget committee currently consists of myself, Aaron, Mark, and Leanne. We have one vacancy, and so I don't have a candidate for that tonight. So I'm asking folks, think about it, come back with somebody if you can find somebody. I'll look too. But at our first meeting in January, we should look to make that appointment because the budget committee is going to start meeting, I think the second or third week in January.
Yeah, usually.
So anyway, those are the updates there. New business item C, the only liquor license we've got tonight is for Omakase for the first and third class liquor license. Is there a motion to approve the first and third class liquor license for Omakase?
Yeah, make a motion to approve Omakase's first and third class license.
Thanks. We have a motion from Suzanne. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a second from Mark. Thanks, Mark. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, you've approved liquor license for Omakase. We have no fleet permits tonight, so that brings us through our agenda unless there is anything else anybody's got. If not,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
thanks, Mark. We have a motion to adjourn from Mark. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from Suzanne. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye or raising your hand. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, motion carries and the meeting stands adjourned at 7:25 p.m. Thank you, everybody. Good night, Larry.
Yeah.
Go,
Night, Larry.
go UVM.
Good night.
Yeah, go UVM.
Yes.
Half an hour till kickoff.
Oh, yes.
Bye, Larry.
All right, see ya.
Yeah.